Greetings and welcome to what is only our second episode of the Modest Book Reviews or Modest Book Corner series. Most of you probably don't even remember what this series is about, since our, last episode was in the spring of 2016. But essentially the idea here is to support and promote the works of modders, whether they be in, game development, creative writing, or some other creative enterprise. And because modders are creative people, and unsurprisingly, many modders aspire to break out into other creative fields outside of modding. And this series is specifically meant to review and promote books written by Morrowind modders. And our first episode covered the science fiction fantasy novel The White Wolf and the Darkness by Morrowind modder Orendak. And today we'll be reviewing the dark fantasy novel Blackfeather by famed quest modder Djangos, a rather unique and enjoyable read coming in at 346 pages, available on Kindle for about $2.99. And Djangos is best known in the modding community for his well-known quest mods Magical Missions, which adds a new set of Mages Guild quests to the Mages Guild in Caldera, and also The Raven, which adds a quest line to the Necromancer who resides outside of Dagonfell. And indeed, Magical Missions is the 7th most endorsed quest mod on the Nexus, and certainly one of the more popular quest mods in the community. Though Djangos is also well known for a smattering of other, odd mods, including immersion mods and even a few graphical replaces here and there. And in any event, Djangos released his first and so far only novel in 2015, and as far as I know, he didn't bother to tell anyone about it, besides sending me a very short message in 2015 where he mentioned it in response to an interview request, which is the only reason why I know about it at all. And since then, he's kind of disappeared from the community, and his novel has gotten little attention, with only 5 ratings on Goodreads and only 2 reviews on Amazon. Which is really something of a shame, because as far as, first novels are concerned, it's really quite spectacular and definitely worth a read. But more on that in a moment. I'm a little ashamed to say that it's taken me a while to get around to reading Blackfeather, given that it's, been in my Kindle library since about late in 2015. Running a YouTube channel hasn't exactly afforded me a lot of free time, and sadly I only read perhaps maybe, 7 books in 2016 and 5 books in 2017, which is a tad insane, since as recently as 2014 I had been reading 30 to 50 books a year. So this year I decided to make a New Year's resolution to find time somehow each day to do a little bit of reading, starting with Blackfeather. And so far the strategy has really paid off. I've already finished 18 books in 2018, which is, fairly decent. But anyway, to go ahead and get started with our review here, Blackfeather is essentially a dark fantasy novel, and when I say fantasy, chances are you might, conjure up images of gallant sword fighting, magic missiles, and all sorts of other, fantastical adventures. Blackfeather has really none of that. It's a very grim, very realistic take on a fantasy world, with practically no magic to speak of, or at least no magic that you get to see directly. Mostly, you're just subjugated to the superstitious fears of our main protagonist, a peasant from a backwater village in the middle of nowhere, who ventures forth into a world on a quest of vengeance for what we don't really know exactly until later, as the author chooses to reveal this through a series of flashbacks as the novel and the story progresses. And indeed, our young protagonist, if he can even be called that, goes by the name Rook, and he isn't really much of a hero. He doesn't start out as a heroic figure, and he doesn't end as one either, though that could be open to some interpretation, I suppose. Point is, Rook is a very human character with a lot of flaws, kind of rash to make decisions, which often lead to some quite frankly terrible consequences, and in the end his follies are many and triumphs few, and that kind of just makes him incredibly relatable. And this is, I think, especially notable given that some authors in the fantasy genre have a habit of writing stereotypical heroes who can do no wrong, or characters that seem only to become more powerful over time with no end in sight, like Raymond E. Feist's work, for example. And indeed, our protagonist, Rook, isn't particularly powerful at all, and he often has to go along with the events or situations precisely because he doesn't have much control over the trouble that he gets in, which again just adds that realistic and relatable human element. And that doesn't, just go for our main character either. The cast here is exceptional, and the characterization is definitely one of the novel's strong points. And likewise, Blackfeather excels at descriptive detailing, painting vivid and realistic scenes that jump off the page, from city and somewhat sinister cities, to, run-down villages, claustrophobic swamps and forests, and just some wonderful, scene building. All based on a world that's, something like our own, with a relatable and familiar medieval style. Indeed, the author claims to have researched quite a bit of medieval history and society, and it shows in painting a realistic world that just, feels alien enough to be fantasy, but just similar enough to our own to be, believable. And if Blackfeather has a downside, it might be a certain lack of punctuation that might put, a few people off a bit at first. For you see, Blackfeather doesn't use quotation marks anywhere in the book, and there's really nothing to denote dialogue. And this is all made the more confusing because the dialogue isn't necessarily divided off from descriptive paragraphs that paint a particular scene or environment. Often you'll have one part of a paragraph be dialogue, either a character talking to themselves or talking to someone else, and the very next line in the same paragraph will be describing a room, which can just get a little bit confusing at first trying to figure out what's actually being said. But all in all, this is, more a matter of writing style and preference than any real fault of the book. It evokes a similar style to that of Cormac McCarthy, but, Blackfeather doesn't go quite to McCarthy's extremes with regards to lack of punctuation. And as far as overall writing quality is concerned, Blackfeather is an excellent and easy read, once you get the hang of it anyway, with a few grammatical or spelling mistakes of any kind, and you'll find the book flows, by quickly from scene to scene, keeping you entranced until you finish the whole thing. As far as first novels go, this is really one of the best I've seen, and again, it's just a shame that this novel hasn't gotten more attention. Though I suppose in these days of self-publishing, it's a little difficult to get your name out there, which is why we're here to, make that process a little easier. It goes without saying that I highly recommend reading Blackfeather. It's well written, fun, at times both light-hearted and dark, and it's just a great read. Seriously, for what's basically the price of a cup of coffee, you can't go wrong with picking up this book. It's only available on Amazon Kindle, again for about $2.99, and if you do read it, please do leave the author a review and rate it on Goodreads. Djangos could use all the promotion he can get given the book's underrated nature so far. And anyway, I guess that about wraps up this review. If you know of any books you'd like me to take a look at, or if you're a martyr who's published their own book, please do let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do a video review. In any event, thanks for watching, I'll see you all next time with one of our regularly scheduled videos from our own Showcases.